Caring Review, print speaking to the blind, celebrating 40 years of audio newspaper production. Welcome to this week's edition of the Glasgow Times podcast, recorded at the Bishop Briggs Media Centre by our amazing volunteers. You can get in touch with us via Facebook, Twitter or Instagram using @QandReview. That is @CUEANDREVIEW. You can also contact us directly by emailing information@QandReview.com. That is INFORMATION or by calling 0141 772 3976. That's 0141 772 3976.
The Glasgow Times on Thursday the 12th of December 2024. From the news section. Glasgow drug consumption room could be delayed. This article was written by Rosie Lewis and it's being read by me, Corey. The UK's first drug consumption room may now not open until early next year after delays. The facility in the East End of Glasgow was due to open to drug users in October, allowing them to take illegal substances under medical supervision. But Councillor Alan Casey, the convener for addiction services at Glasgow City Council, said final checks to the water and ventilation systems in the building mean it may not be open until 2025. Speaking on BBC Radio Scotland's Good Morning Scotland programme on Thursday, he said, "We're probably weeks away. It will be round about the tail end of this year or at the very start of next year." He said there had been some issues in terms of connecting the water supply, but the building had now been handed over to NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde's infection control team, which is testing the water supply and ventilation. He insisted, "Nobody is more frustrated than myself. The staff are all recruited, they're ready to go, the building is, to all intents and purpose, complete. We just want to get open and provide that service, but we can't cut any corners. We need to make sure this is done properly because so much scrutiny is on this building and the service that it provided. It is the first in the UK and the service that is provided. It is the first in the UK and we must get it right for everybody for its opening. If we were to cut corners, I think we would be accused of putting people at risk as well, and I think that is not in any way acceptable. We need to make sure we do this properly, that it is safe for everybody to use." Mr. Casey said there had been a satisfactory test result with further results due next week, meaning we're only a matter of weeks away from being able to give a definitive date for the service starting. While the idea of a drugs consumption room was first proposed in 2016 following a HIV outbreak in the city, its development was embroiled in years of political wrangling between the Scottish and UK governments. But in 2023, Scotland's most senior law officer, Lord Advocate Dorothy Bain, KC, announced it would not be in the public interest to prosecute people using such a facility. The pilot project in Hunter Street is the same building as a current drug treatment facility and was approved by the Glasgow City Integration Joint Board in September 2023. Mr. Casey said, "Let's be honest here. We've been waiting for 10 years to open this facility and there has been red tape around that from the UK government, from the Home Office. So another couple of weeks where we test the water to make sure it is safe, I think is something we can cope with. There's been red tape for over a decade now and we have been fighting to get this open. But we want to do it right. We don't want to cut any corners and cause any further issues, or cause the building and then have to close at some point in the future. That would not be in anybody's interest." That article was from the Glasgow Times. It was from the news section. It was written by Rosie Lewis, and it was read by me, Corey. The Glasgow Times on Thursday the 12th of December 2024. From the news section. Plans for new restaurant and takeaway in Paisley given go ahead. This article has been written by Jack Thompson and is being read by me, Corey. Plans to transform a letting agency in Paisley into a restaurant and hot food takeaway has been given the go-ahead by Renfrewshire Council. Planning permission for a change of use in the unit in Causeyside Street has been granted, subject to conditions by the local council. The site is located within a mixed-use area in close proximity to the town centre, with a combination of shops and flats found in the immediate vicinity. A report of handling by the Chief Planning Officer said, "In this case, the proposal seeks the change of the use of rental unit to a restaurant with a hot food takeaway. In assessing this proposal, it is considered that the restaurant and a hot food takeaway would generally be directed towards the town centre. However, given the nature of uses at ground floor level along Causeyside Street and the proximity to the town centre, it is considered that this use would be compatible with the surrounding area." It continued, "Overall, it is considered that, on balance, the proposals comply with the criteria of the delivering the place's strategy, and the proposed use would not have a significant impact on surrounding residential properties when compared to that of the former retail unit." The applicant was informed their application had been successful towards the end of last month. In its official decision note, the council said the proposal was in line with the provisions of the development plan. That article was from the Glasgow Times. It was from the news section. It was written by Jack Thompson, and it was read by me, Corey. The Glasgow Times on Thursday the 12th of December 2024. From the news section. Record number of Scots aged 90 and over. This article has been written by Rosie Lewis and it's being read by me, Corey. Scotland has its highest ever number of people aged 90 and above, new population statistics reveal. The National Records of Scotland (NRS) figures show the country was home to 45,550 people aged 90 or older as of June 30th, 2023. This is an increase of 590 or 1.3% on the year before, and an increase of more than 7,800 or 20% on a decade earlier. The record-breaking figure includes 44,450 people in their 90s and 1,000 aged 100 and above, making Scotland home to 18 centurions for every 1,000 people. Women continue to make up the majority of those aged 90 and above, accounting for 2 out of 3 people in this age group. But the figures indicate the gap between men and women is getting smaller. Andrew White, NRS Head of Population and Migration Statistics, said, "In the last 20 years, the number of men aged 90 years and over increased by 133%, while the number of women increased by 29%. Despite seeing its highest number of people aged 100 and over, Scotland had the second lowest proportion of centurions out of the 4 UK nations. Northern Ireland has the lowest, with 15 centurions per 1,000 people, while England was second with 24 and Wales the highest with 26. NRS statistics are produced by independent professional statisticians and meet the standard for accredited national statistics." That article was from the Glasgow Times. It was from the news section. It was written by Rosie Lewis, and it was read by me, Corey. The Glasgow Times on Thursday the 12th of December 2024. From the news section. Warning as major Glasgow road to be hit with urgent roadworks. This article has been written by Ben Waddle and it's being read by me, Corey. A warning has been issued as a major Glasgow road will be hit with urgent works for 8 weeks. Hope Street in the city centre will be reduced to one lane from Monday, January 6, 2025. Scottish Water revealed the busy road will be restricted to allow them to carry out an essential sewer repair in the area. During the work, traffic management will be in place between West George Street and West Regent Street for approximately 8 weeks. West Regent Lane will also be closed to all vehicles between Renfield Street and Hope Street. The water company said the work urgently needs done to address internal sewer flooding in the area. All footpaths and businesses in the area will be open as usual. During the work, Scottish Water has warned road users to plan ahead and expect delays. A spokesperson for Scottish Water said, "We appreciate it will be inconvenient for people living in and travelling through the city centre. We will be working with affected businesses and residents to minimise the impact of the works, and we would like to thank everyone for their patience and understanding. Some delays are expected, and road users are being advised to plan ahead and allow extra time for their journey." That article was from the Glasgow Times. It was from the news section. It was written by Ben Waddle, and it was read by me, Corey.
This is from the Glasgow Times on Friday, 13th December 2024, from the news section. Man who turned life around to host free Christmas dinner in Glasgow, by Morgan Carmichael. A Glasgow charity is making sure everyone gets a seat at the table this Christmas. East End Recovery Sunday, or EERS as it's otherwise known, strives to be a safe place for people to get support for addiction and isolation. Offering 12-step fellowship meetings, a recovery cafe, hot food at low prices, and family-oriented activities, the charity is a hub of friendship and support for the whole community. This Christmas, volunteers at the Recovery Cafe will be hosting a free Christmas dinner to give anyone who may be isolated or alone a place to spend the holidays, a warm meal and some company. Volunteer Davy Boer is one of the driving forces behind the meal, which will also ensure attendees leave with a present in their hands and not just with a full belly. Speaking to the Glasgow Times, the 49-year-old said, "We are so excited to be hosting the dinner, and those who plan to attend say they are really looking forward to it. A lot of people in recovery might not be in touch with their family or have anywhere to go, and this means we can give them somewhere to go for Christmas. For some of these people too, we might be their only chance of having a Christmas dinner. We don't want anyone isolated at Christmas." Davy added, "We have room for about 120 people and space for a few more tables if need be. We have also said to our other charity partners to send some people along to us too if they like, as we want to help as many people as we can." The cafe will be open from 11 a.m. until 3 p.m. on December 22nd for the special lunch. Attendees will be able to listen to some great music, play sports and games, and kids will even get a visit from Santa. For Davy, who is in recovery from alcohol, drug and gambling addiction, the meal is all about giving back to the community. Having attended the Recovery Cafe himself, David eventually became a volunteer to help others, which he has now been doing for 3 years. He said, "It is me and a few friends who run the Recovery Cafe. There are 14 of us, and aside from the 2 who are there for their mental health, we are all in recovery. It makes helping out here feel so rewarding." Davy has went almost 7 years gambling free and has been sober and clean for the last 5 years. EERS applied for 2 lots of funding, both for £1,000, to help cover the costs of the food presented to attendees. Sadly, the charity, which received charitable status 3 months ago, did not receive either funding grant. Davy said, "It's hard because so many charities are fighting for such little money, but it is disappointing. I ran the Santa Dash to raise some money for the dinner, and we received some money from partners as well, which is amazing. The charity has also set up a GoFundMe to raise as much money as possible for the day." Davy said that the funding pot is going well and has so far raised £815. If you'd like to donate, you can do so at gofundme.com east-end-recovery-Sunday-Christmas-dinner. But if the funding pot doesn't make enough, that isn't stopping David from throwing a spectacular day for those in need. He said he would use his own money and wages to make sure everyone had a great Christmas. He explained, "If I need to spend my wages, then that is what I will do. It's all about giving back to the community. I've already been using stuff with my own money anyway, just to get the kids a few bits." That article is by Morgan Carmichael. This is from the Glasgow Times on Friday, 13th December 2024, from the News section. Popular retailer opens new store in Glasgow's Silverburn, by Ben Waddell. A popular retailer has opened a brand new store in Glasgow's Silverburn. Crew Clothing Company opened a new shop in the leisure facility recently. The British lifestyle brand, which has been creating clothing for over 30 years, is known for its timeless garments inspired by the British coast. The new store in the shopping centre is located next to Sea Salt, Cornwall. As part of its opening, customers will be able to enjoy a glass of sparkling wine in store over the weekend, and punters who spend over £75 in store will receive a complimentary gift. A spokesperson for Silverburn said, "Crew Clothing Company is now open at Silverburn. The British lifestyle brand has been creating clothing for life's best moments for the last 30 years. The new Silverburn store is located next to Sea Salt, Cornwall." That article was by Ben Waddell.
From the Glasgow Times, Saturday the 14th of December, from the news section, bug off. Man says he feels degraded due to insect infestation in city flat. This article is an exclusive by Nicole Mitchell. A man says he feels exhausted and degraded due to his flat being plagued by insects. Buyer Khalid has been dealing with a severe infestation of Dermestes beetles at his home in Blythewood Court in the city centre since April, and says he has found more than 1,000 of the insects since. He says despite repeated phone calls and emails, Glasgow West Housing Association, GWHA, has not taken any meaningful intervention to find the root cause of the issue, which he says is affecting the whole building. He said, "They've been saying we are looking for a source for 9 months. It's annoying. I've sealed everywhere. It's like they're magic. Nothing kills them." Dermestes beetles, Dermestidae, are household pests that feed on items such as hair, rugs, carpets, clothing and furniture. Briar has been living in his flat for more than 2 years and had no issues with bugs until April. He initially found a couple of beetles and assumed they had come from outside, but started to find more with him, now finding between 5 and 10 beetles each day. He says dealing with unacceptable living conditions is really affecting me mentally. The 22-year-old said, "Every morning the first thing I have to do is kill beetles and put them in the bin. Waking up to a home overrun with pests every day is exhausting and degrading. Briar, who is a barber, has paid more than £200 for a private pest control company to come to his flat and has had 6 treatments, but said it has made no difference because they cannot find the source. He was told they do not believe that infestation is coming from his property, but from elsewhere in the building. An inspection report states, on today's inspection there were no hygiene or housekeeping issues raised that are contributing to an increased risk of pest activity. Briar has also bought treatments from online and is using traps to get them, and has even thrown out his carpets in an effort to tackle the infestation, but it has made no difference. He says it feels like the GWHA don't care about tenants, they just care about money. He added, this is not just about my flat, but about the health and safety of everyone living in this building and the surrounding area. Briar has contacted councillors, MPs and citizens' advice, and has complained to GWHA about how the issue has been handled and asked to be moved. A spokesperson for Glasgow West Housing Association said, we are aware of the concerns raised regarding an issue in Blythe Court and have been actively working to address the matter. Our team has attended the affected property multiple times alongside pest control specialists, who have confirmed that this flat is not the source of the infestation. We have also made several attempts to engage with neighbouring residents, but, to date, no additional reports or evidence of similar issues have been identified. We take this matter very seriously and are continuing our efforts to identify the source of the infestation. Further inspections, supported by pest control specialists, are being conducted today as part of those ongoing efforts. We remain committed to resolving this matter as quickly as possible and appreciate the residents' patience and understanding as we exhaust all avenues to address their concerns. And that article was an exclusive, written by Nicole Mitchell and read by me, Ian McKenna.
Evening Times, December 17. Lifestyle. VR plan to celebrate 200th anniversary of Lord Kelvin's birth, reports Sanda Suresh. A city university has unveiled a virtual reality exhibition to celebrate the 200th anniversary of Lord Kelvin's birth. The exhibition by the University of Glasgow is part of the £5.6 million Museums in the Metaverse project, which aims to digitise assets from cultural collections worldwide for online virtual reality access. Born William Thomson in 1824, Lord Kelvin was a renowned 19th century scientist who made significant contributions to physics, engineering and mathematics. The virtual exhibition, announced to coincide with the anniversary of Kelvin's death on December 17, 1907, features items from the Hunterian's collection, Scotland's oldest public museum. These include scientific instruments and artefacts related to Kelvin's work at the University of Glasgow, many of which are not usually on public display. The digital exhibition is set in a recreation of a 19th century University of Glasgow laboratory, illuminated by early electric lighting. Dr. Pauline Mackay, part of the Museums in the Metaverse team, said, "We are delighted to be part of the university's bicentenary celebrations of the birth of Lord Kelvin, and to work with our colleagues at the Hunterian to put some of the lesser seen items on virtual display. It really does feel like visitors are transported back in time to see for themselves objects once handled by Lord Kelvin or developed through his research, and it is a tremendous showcase for the power of virtual reality." The exhibition includes sections of submarine telegraphed cable, versions of the mirror galvanometer, and various voltmeters all showcasing Kelvin's contributions to electricity and telegraphy. Visitors can also examine Kelvin's binnacle compass bowl and card, demonstrating his innovations in maritime navigation. The exhibition will be available at the Mazunda Shaw Advanced Research Centre this week, before becoming part of the full Museums in the Metaverse platform next year. Report by Sanja Suresh. Evening Times, December 13. Lifestyle. Giant chimneys and the smoke police. How Glasgow tackled pollution. Report by Dr. Irene O'Brien, Glasgow City Archives. Glasgow's first full-time medical officer of health, Dr. James B. Russell, was appointed in 1872. For the next 26 years, he worked tirelessly for the city's poor on a crusade to improve living conditions and health provision. Russell succeeded in persuading the town council to play an active role in improving sanitation, pollution control, including smoke control, and slum clearance in what he described as a semi-asphyxiated city. Glasgow had started the 19th century with a reputation for being one of the cleanest and most attractive cities in Britain. Industrialisation and a rapidly growing population changed this image completely. The smoke, inadequate water supply, polluted burns and rivers, broken down and overcrowded houses, and the filthy streets and closes had made Glasgow a vastly different city. From the early 1800s, industrial smoke was an assault on the city's environment, belching out of large factory buildings or from steam engines. As industrialisation built up in the city, the unpleasant effects of the increase in smoke from furnaces and other industrial processes became apparent. The company, which was later to become Charles Tennant and the St. Rollox Chemical Works in Glasgow in 1797. The factory was Britain's largest alkali works from the 1820s until the early 1870s. Charles's son John was responsible for erecting the Tennant Stock, a 133-metre-high chimney aimed at dispersing the noxious fumes created in the process of manufacturing alkalis, bleaching powders, and other chemical products. In fact, the stock succeeded in spreading pollution across a large area of central Scotland. Even larger than St. Rollox was the great chimney at Crawford Street Chemical Works in Port Dundas, erected by Joseph Townsend in 1859. It was for a time the largest chimney in the world, at 142.65 metres. In the 1820s, the city acquired powers to regulate the type of furnace used in factories, but this was only done if there was a complaint. In 1850, a smoke abatement committee was established. It appointed an inspector who encouraged factory owners to use efficient furnaces and chimneys. The police were also used to observe factories and to prosecute them under the Smoke Abatement Scotland Act. Glasgow's enthusiasm for this act was not shared by the owners, who fought hard against such prosecutions, and the smoke doctors, who cost them the expense of changing their furnaces. Industrial smoke remained a huge problem impacting on the citizen, and in 1892, the first local powers for the abatement of the industrial smoke nuisance were obtained by the corporation. It was not until 1900, when extra staff were appointed to the sanitary department to report on badly smoking chimneys, that the department began to make an impact. By 1914, the level of prosecutions by the city's chimney police rose to about 35 annually. Mr. Peter Fife, then the Chief Sanitary Inspector, an enthusiast of the cause of smoke prevention, was responsible for administering the Act. His staff consisted of a senior smoke inspector and 5 assistant inspectors who were trained engineers with a special knowledge of fuel combustion. Mr. Fife's policy was to cooperate with furnace users and to advise them through his inspectors of the best practical means available for preventing smoke. Encouraged by the cooperative attitude of the furnace users towards the smoke inspectors, in 1910 the corporation decided to collaborate with the Glasgow and West of Scotland branch of the National Smoke Abatement Society. Together they began evening classes for the instruction of stokers, boilermen and plant engineers on the prevention of smoke emissions and on the principles of coal combustion and general furnace management. These classes, ordinary and advanced, were conducted by the senior smoke inspector and proved successful from the start. By 1938, 2,300 people had enrolled in the scheme, and the classes continued thereafter. Smoke abatement ceased to function during World War II, but was gradually re-established after the war. In 1956 it was merged in the provision of the new Clean Air Act, which held out the prospect of a completely smokeless city by prohibiting domestic as well as industrial smoke. Report by Dr. Irene O'Brien of the Glasgow City Archives. Evening Times, December 12. Lifestyle. Meet the woman behind Glasgow's Stockingfield Bridge art project. Report by Anne Fotheringham. Alongside the mythical sea serpent currently taking shape at Stockingfield Bridge in North Glasgow, a city project is weaving its own magic through the communities it supports. Make It Glasgow, a social enterprise set up by artists Louise Nolan and Ruth Impey, has big plans for the area centred around Ruckhill, Maryhill and Guildhall Hill. By creating a ceramics manufacturing base on the banks of the canal and a Scottish pottery museum alongside the already established and blossoming ceramic sculpture park, the inspirational duo is bringing back a lost Glasgow industry. Louise and Nolan were presented with the Lord Provost Special Recognition Prize at the Glasgow Community Champion Awards 2024, organised by the Glasgow Times and supported by Glasgow City Council, Allied Vehicles Charitable Trust and St Enoch Centre. Lord Provost Jacqueline McLaren said, "I am so thrilled about this award because it is in appreciation of public art, its power and the legacy it leaves. Everyone is familiar with Glasgow's murals. However, Make It Glasgow is actively engaging with the public and helping a community create its own art. Public art has the power to elevate us all, and it is extra special when it is created by and for the people where it is installed." Accepting the award, an emotional Ruth said, "We are delighted and surprised. Over the moon, in fact. This is a great recognition of what is happening in the northwest of Glasgow, the creativity and entrepreneurship, and it is joyous." Louise and Ruth first worked together on Bella the Bather, a 125-metre concrete serpent designed by artist Nicole Wheatley, which is being covered by ceramic scales to be placed along its winding body. "Local people have been really amazing since we started here," says Louise. "People often tap on the door and say thank you, which is really fantastic, and they do litter picks. We had an event and 250 people turned up. I think people recognise that something special is happening here. Winning the awards is a huge boost," say the pair. "The bridge and park have won awards, but those have been from an industrial or engineering standpoint," says Louise. "So to win a community award, when community is at the heart of everything we're doing here, that is really magical." Report by Anne Fotheringham.
From the Glasgow Times, Monday the 16th of December, from the news section. Former Dumbarton butcher shop to become fish and chip shop. Article by Emily Moore. Plans to convert a vacant butcher shop into a fish and chip takeaway has been approved despite fears over a lack of parking spaces. The application to turn the former Thompson, Smith and Son butchers on Glasgow Road, Dumbarton into an independent chippy was given the go-ahead at a planning meeting on December 11th. West Dumbartonshire Council Road had recommended that the application be subject to the new shop would become more frequently used than before with its change of use. The service said hot food takeaways require 5 off-street parking spaces, 3 more than previously required when the unit was as a butcher. At the meeting, councillors went against the recommended objection, instead granted consent subject to certain conditions. Of the 24 local residents who submitted the representation, 17 supported the application and 7 objected. One resident who supported the application said, "A son who lives nearby, I believe this shop would be a great addition to the once busy Glasgow Road. I often walk these streets with my grandchildren and over the years I have noticed a decline in foot traffic and interest. I think it's amazing someone is taking an interest in Dumbarton East and breathing new life into the area. A positive new local business like this should always be appreciated and supported." Meanwhile, another resident who objected to the application said she has numerous concerns. She said this corner between Glasgow Road and Victoria Street is already subject to cars illegally parking due to shortage of parking spaces in Dumbarton East side streets. Large notices put up to highlight dangers of parking near corners are ignored, making it dangerous for both pedestrians and motorists, and have resulted in frequent near misses. Not enough parking for residents already exists, and the problem is exacerbated by visitors to many local businesses and primary schools on a daily basis. A decision on whether the conditions have been met will be made in due course. And that article was written by Emily Moore and read by me, Aaron. From the Glasgow Times, Monday the 16th of December, from the news section. Can you spot yourself? Santa Dash raises thousands for Beatson. Article by Sadia Suresh. A cancer charity's Glasgow Santa Dash 2024 has raised £70,000 to support its crucial work. This was the first year Beatson Cancer Charity organised the event, which took place on December 8th at Glasgow Green. Nearly 4,000 participants dressed in festive costumes to raise funds for cancer patients and their families. The event was hosted by TV and radio personality Brian Burnett and supported by Gap Group Hire Solutions, CCL Design and Sir Enoch. Santa himself launched the dash and posed for photos with Beatson Cancer Charity's mascot, Bella Beatson. The money raised will support the charity's work, including providing well-being services and advancing research for cancer patients and their families. A highlight of the day was the Best Dressed Santa competition, which saw participants in a variety of creative costumes. Maisie McCormick, Community Fundraising Manager at the Beats in Cancer charity, said, "We are so proud to have hosted the Glasgow Santa Dash for the first time. Seeing Glasgow Green transformed into a sea of Santas spreading festive joy was truly magical. The costumes were incredible, the energy was electric, and the spirit was giving everywhere. Bella Beatson and Santa himself added to the magic, but it's our amazing supporters who made it unforgettable. Thank you to everyone who took part and helped raise such an incredible amount for such an important cause." And that article was written by Sadia Suresh and read by me, Arden. From the Glasgow Times, Monday the 16th of December, from the news section. Glasgow store manager says Christmas run-up has seen rise in thefts. Article by Nicole Mitchell. The run-up to Christmas has led to a sharp increase in thefts, a store manager has said. Kuram Arash, who is a manager of Spar Govanhill, says he believes a rise in shoplifting in the last 3 months is because people are struggling with the cost of living crisis. He said over the course of the last 3 months, shoplifting, has been non-stop. We are getting probably 1 or 2 people every second or third day. People are desperate, and you've got people who are less fortunate. You've got different communities within the community, and not everyone gets the same opportunities, and I think people are feeling the effects of that. He added, at this time of year people are desperate, and they are trying to do whatever they can for their kids, so shoplifting is on the rise, but more needs to be done to crack down on it. From speaking to customers that come into the store and people in the community, it's the cost of living crisis that's affecting them. It gives them another reason to come in and do things they might not normally do. We previously reported that recording retail crime rose by 37% from 2022 to 23 to 2023 to 24 in Glasgow, with the police noting a similar percentage increase for 2024 to 2025 so far. Karim says he has seen a massive increase in people working in groups and adults using children to commit thefts from the family-run business. He says items such as coffee, milk, sugar, biscuits and crisps are among the most targeted cart Road Hill store. While the items themselves may not be the most expensive, Karam estimates the total cost of the items that have been stolen or were attempts to steal in the last 3 months cost upwards of £1,000. While he understands people may be struggling during what is an expensive time of year for many, Karam says small businesses can't afford losses like this. The 32-year-old said, "It's very upsetting and puts us in a precarious position. £1,000 for a small business is a massive loss. We can't sustain a loss like that, especially when we have so many overheads." Karam also says there are people dealing with substance abuse issues who shoplift as a way to fund their addictions, but says this issue is not specific to the Christmas period or the cost of living crisis. He said, "We have seen people who have come into the store with bags full of items shoplifted elsewhere, then trying to shoplift from us, and then going around apartments in the local area to try and sell the shoplifted items for a quarter of the price." Theft is not the only thing Karam and his colleagues have had to deal with, as he says there have also been a rise in violence. He said, "We've had individuals start being violent or physically violent towards staff. Punching, kicking, shouting, screaming, swearing, we've seen it all. There's also been occasions where we've had to call the police." In an effort to tackle the rise in shoplifting, the business has invested in facial recognition technology, but Karam says they're not able to invest in the sort of deterrence larger stores can. He said, "There's an Aldi that have got security on the door, but for a small business we can't really afford that. We can't afford to put in the measures they have to prevent thefts, like putting locks on their cabinets and stuff." And that article was written by Nicole Mitchell and read by me, Arden.
From the Glasgow Times on Tuesday the 17th of December 2024. Councillors visit Glasgow Depot amid fly tipping crisis claim. And this article was written by Amanda Keenan. 2 of Glasgow's most influential councillors have visited one of the city's cleansing depots amid calls for an extra 150 staff to be recruited in 2025. Labour Group Leader George Redmond and SNP member for Denniston Alan Casey went to the hub at Polmadie on Monday morning as GMB union chiefs look to pressure the local authority into bolstering workforce numbers. The visit was organised after GMB claimed members and the public will be impacted by a plan that will close some depots and centralise cleansing staff, leaving them mainly operating from complexes in Blairtummock, Shield Hall, Polmadie and Dawsholme, sometimes miles from their normal runs. GMB cleansing convener Chris Mitchell explained, "We felt it was important that the councillors see the improvements that need to be made in these depots if they press ahead with this proposal. It was a productive meeting and hopefully the councillors now have a better appreciation of the antiquated conditions we are being asked to work in." GMB also say that fly tipping has spiralled out of control and is taking action to highlight a string of sites across Glasgow that have been turned into illegal dumps. Mr. Mitchell added, "Monday's meeting gave us the perfect platform to raise this issue and the need for more workers to combat it. It is only getting worse and we need to act without delay." One of the places flagged was private land close to Carlisle Street in Royston. There, appliances including fridges, cookers and freezers lie discarded alongside sofas, cupboards and ripped-out kitchens, as well as building materials and hundreds of tyres. It has been described as a complete embarrassment by bosses at GMB, who say sites like this have now become commonplace across Glasgow. Mr. Mitchell claims the city is on its knees as a result of continued cuts to statutory services. He said, "The council used the term policy changes and efficiencies, but in real terms, this is just different terminology for cuts. We need enforcement, we need action by environmental health, we need more cleansing workers. It is imperative that 150 people are placed in roles across the council next year to try and help us cope with the sheer scale of the crisis we are facing, and we raised that with the councillors during Monday's visit. People have turned to fly tipping because they are now being charged for services at every turn. We are in the midst of a cost of living crisis and families are being asked to pay for bulk uplifts, green waste, all manner of things, and disastrous scenes like this are the result. This is because the UK and Scottish governments aren't funding Glasgow's public services properly. It is now an environmental crisis." Mr. Mitchell said it is time for elective decision makers within the local authority to understand the true scale of the problem. He added, "We see this every day as part of our job, but we thought it was time for the people who shape the policies and decide where resources are deployed to learn for themselves how bad this issue has become. We are overrun by rats and fly tipping like this is a huge part of the reason why. Action needs to be taken to bolster cleansing and refuse collection services over the coming months, or we are just going to see this type of shameful sight more and more." A spokesperson for Glasgow City Council told the Glasgow Times they are committed to cracking down on illegal dumpers and will continue to employ the most effective ways to keep the city clean. They added, "There is no excuse for fly tipping. Anyone who drives to a secluded area to dump waste knows they are doing something wrong. The fly tipping in this area appears to have come from unscrupulous cowboy contractors who have dumped the waste generated from various renovations on private land. As this land is not maintained by the council, it becomes the responsibility of the landowner to remove this waste and also take steps to prevent further fly tipping. There is no reason to believe these incidents are the work of individual householders who have supposedly driven to this area to fly tip when they can easily drive to our waste centres and dispose of their waste for free. In line with every other local authority in Scotland, Glasgow charges £5 per item for the collection of bulky waste, and the £5 raised from each bulky item collected supports the significant annual cost of operating a citywide waste management system. Frontline environmental services remain an absolute priority for the council, and we continue to invest in these services wherever possible. We have recently agreed to recruit 43 new refuse collectors, and our street cleansing team has expanded significantly with agreed budget in place for a 470-strong street team. We are also making investments worth over £52 million in new facilities and bin collection systems that will increase recycling, upgrade staff facilities and help create a more efficient, effective service that improves the city's approach to waste management. And that article was written by Amanda Keenan. From the Glasgow Times on Tuesday the 17th of December 2024, from the news section. Humza Yousaf to step down as MSP at next Holyrood election. And this article was written by Adam Robertson. Humza Yousaf has confirmed he will step down as an MSP at the next Holyrood election. In a post on Twitter, or X, he said that 2026 would mark 15 years of service as an MSP and that the time will be right for me to move on. As the son of immigrants, I could never have imagined the incredible political journey I have been on, he said. Thank you to all of those who have supported me over the years. Yousaf served as Scotland's First Minister from March 2023 until May of this year, when he resigned following the collapse of the Butte House Agreement. In a letter sent to John Swinney confirming his plans, Yousaf said, I struggle to find the words to appropriately convey what an honour it is to sit in our nation's Parliament as the elected representative for Glasgow Pollock. However, come 2026, I will have served 15 years as an MSP, 12 of those years as a minister in the Scottish Government. The next Scottish Parliament elections in 2026 will be the right time for me to move on, to provide an opportunity for the next generation of MSPs to step forward and to explore where I can best make the contribution in the future in helping to tackle some of the most pressing challenges our world faces. There is no way the son of immigrants could have ever dreamt of being the leader of his country when he was a boy. People who looked like me and who were of my faith simply were not represented on the front benches in politics anywhere in the UK. Yousaf held a number of ministerial roles prior to becoming First Minister, including as Health and Justice Secretary. From 2016 to 2018, he worked as the Minister for Transport and the Islands and was Minister for Europe and International Development from 2012 to 2016. On his Twitter/X page, Yousaf shared a separate interview with news agency Zito where he explained his decision further. He said he was stepping back from frontline politics altogether and that it was time to make way for the next generation of elected members. Yousaf added he hoped to use his experience of things he had learned to do as well as what not to do in order to make a contribution on the global stage. Asked about the Butte House Agreement specifically, the former FM said, the Greens probably would have rejected the Butte House Agreement. Their membership was probably going to do that. But things became really difficult in my part, to be frank, after a pretty challenging interview with the Green co-leader on an issue of trans health care. Prior to Yousaf stepping down, the Scottish Greens had announced there would be a vote on whether to remain in the power-sharing deal with the SNP. There was people in my own party who were very supportive of the Butte House Agreement now demanding that it was terminated. And look, me sacrificing my leadership and terminating that agreement, that to me was still the right thing to have done. My successor is no longer encumbered with that deal. And that article was written by Adam Robertson. From the Glasgow Times on Tuesday the 17th of December, from the news section. Glasgow Aldi makes huge change to car park rules. And this article was written by Emily Moore. Shoppers in Drumchapel have received warnings that they could be fined following a major change in a supermarket car park. Customers who have recently visited Aldi on Duntreath Avenue have revealed their shock after receiving letters saying that they have breached the terms and conditions of the car park. Shoppers took to social media to share their confusion after letters were sent to their homes warning them they could face a £70 fine if the terms were breached again. In a letter seen by the Glasgow Times, Parking Eye, owner of the car park, wrote, "Parking Eye manages the car park to ensure that spaces are always available for genuine customers. On December the 1st, vehicle ... registered in your name failed to adhere to the car park terms and conditions within Aldi, Drumchapel, Glasgow. We know from research that these conditions for the car park are fair and reasonable. Therefore, we would ask that the next time you use this car park, you follow the terms and conditions, as failure to do so will result in a parking charge notice being issued. The parking firm has since confirmed changes are coming into place after they took over the car park on November the 27th this year. Signs pictured on the supermarket grounds show a maximum stay of an hour and a half with no return for 4 hours. The supermarket shuts its doors in early November for a makeover and has since reopened with the new car park owners. Bosses from the firm say new signs are highly visible and the letters were sent out as a warning. A Parking Eye spokesperson said, "We began providing car park management services at Aldi Drumchapel on November the 27th, 2024. The car park features prominent and highly visible signs throughout, providing information on how to use the car park responsibly. This includes guidance that it is an hour and a half max stay for use by Aldi customers only whilst shopping in store. There is no return within 4 hours and no parking outside of store hours." From the launch of the new system in November, to further educate on the new car park rules, we have issued letters to those who have broken the rules. These letters have been issued as a warning to motorists that a further offence will result in a parking charge. Parking Eye operates BPA, British Parking Association, audited appeals process which motorists can use to appeal their parking charge. If anyone has mitigating circumstances, we would encourage them to highlight this by appealing to Parking Eye. And that article was by Emily Moore. From the Glasgow Times on Tuesday, the 17th of December 2024, from the news section. Glasgow cops put the brakes on e-bike riders breaking rules. And this article was written by Ben Waddle. Glasgow cops have put the brakes on e-bike riders who were breaking the rules. On Monday, community officers in the city revealed several electric bikes had been seized as part of a local action plan. It comes after reports about e-bikes breaking the rules. Issuing a warning, cops said illegally modified e-bikes were being used in pedestrian areas is dangerous and puts members of the public at risk. A spokesperson for Police Scotland said, after reports about e-bikes breaking the rules, local community officers put the brakes on a few offenders. Several e-bikes have been seized as part of a local action plan. Illegally modified electric bikes being used in pedestrian areas is dangerous and puts members of the public at risk. And this article was by Ben Waddle. From the Glasgow Times on Tuesday, the 17th of December 2024, from the news section. And this article was written by Ben Waddle. A busy Motherwell road has been closed after a man was hit by a vehicle. Police have said Windmill Hill Street in the town is shut following a collision involving a pedestrian and a motor. The incident, which took place near a police station, was reported shortly after 7 p.m. on Monday, December the 16th. The pedestrian, who is a man, was rushed to hospital. Cops have said officers remain at the scene. Meanwhile, drivers are urged to use an alternative route until the road reopens. The condition of the man struck by the vehicle is currently unknown. It is also unknown when the road will reopen. And that article was by Ben Waddell, read by me, Caroline. From the Glasgow Times on Tuesday, the 17th of December 2024, from the sports section. Urgent warning issued ahead of big event in Glasgow. This article was written by Ben Waddell. An urgent warning has been issued ahead of a big event in Glasgow this weekend. Glasgow Warriors will take on rivals Edinburgh Rugby at Hampden Park in the south side on Sunday, December the 22nd, as part of the 1872 Cup. Ahead of the clash, Traffic Scotland is warning drivers to expect traffic to be busier than normal on the M8, M77, M74 and M80 motorways. The road firm is urging those heading to the event to consider active travel or public transport options to travel to and from the stadium. Since 1872, Glasgow Warriors and Edinburgh Rugby have contested club rugby's oldest derby in a clash that sees national teammates turn into rivals. For the first time, the Glasgow side will play their home tie match at Hampden Park in the city. The game will kick off at 3 p.m. After that, the two teams will then head to the home of Scottish Rugby 6 days later, as Scottish Gas Murrayfield will host the decider match on Saturday, December the 28th. A spokesperson for Traffic Scotland said, "The M72 Cup battle between the Glasgow Warriors and the Scotland team comes to Hampden Park this Sunday. We expect traffic to be busier than normal on the M8, M77, M74 and M80. Do consider active travel and public transport options." And this was written by Ben Waddell.
This is from the Glasgow Times on the 18th of December 2024, from the news section, and the headline reads, "Bin containing needles removed from Glasgow street." This article is by Ava White. A wheelie bin containing needles has been removed from a residential street after being dumped there months ago. The bin, which had capped hypodermic needles poking out of it, was reportedly abandoned in Relic Avenue in Knightswood around the start of November. Elaine Sutherland, a local resident, noticed the issue while walking her dogs and went on to report it to Glasgow City Council, GCC, numerous times over safety concerns. Now, the bin has been removed from the street after the Glasgow Times stepped in. Elaine said, "It was lying there for months. I first reported it on November 6th, and all they'd do was come back and say the case had been closed, as the issue had been resolved. It hadn't. The bin was still there. I probably reported it 5 times to fly tipping, because I didn't know where else to go. I also reported it to Environmental Health 2 weeks ago. The only reason I looked at it is because I thought there's another abandoned bin, and I took a photo. When I looked close at the picture, I realised there were actually needles in it, and I was worried as they could easily fall out onto the ground. It's not very nice to have it in the street. I get the council has other priorities, but we pay council tax, and this was needles sticking out a bin in the street. You don't want a child to go past and pick it out or have it knocked out onto the pavement." Elaine explained that this is not the first time that rubbish bins have been dumped in the area. Earlier in the year, 6 or 7 green, non-recyclable waste bins were left lying on Relic Avenue, taking up a part of the pavement. Elaine once again reported the issue to the council and got in touch with local councillor Malcolm Mitchell. Councillor Mitchell told the Glasgow Times that it is disappointing that people are fly-tipping bins. He said, "I was alerted to the abandoned bin in the Peterson Park area and requested it be uplifted, which has now happened. There were similar incidents in the area in the last few months, which were actioned after being brought to my attention. It is disappointing that some individuals feel it is acceptable to discard bins of rubbish for weeks or even months. If you no longer require a bin, ask for it to be uplifted. Don't fly tip." Elaine believes the reason why the bins were dumped is partly due to a council policy. She added, "We had that problem before. When the one green bin policy was introduced, some people who already had multiple full green bins just abandoned them as they weren't being collected. At one point there were 6 or 7 bins lying in the street. They took them away and then the one with the needles appeared. I think the streets are an absolute mess anyway, it doesn't surprise me. I think this is a small fraction of a massive problem across the city. Some people who don't have the money to have their bins uplifted are just taking them out and abandoning them in the street. I kind of understand it. We've got 2 green bins out there and only one is collected. Nobody has come round to say, right, let's get rid of the excess bins. If everyone is being encouraged to recycle, why aren't the council recycling bins that are left sitting about now? A GCC spokesperson said, "We are sorry for any inconvenience caused. This bin has now been removed." This article was by Ava White. This is from the Glasgow Times on the 18th of December 2024 from the news section, and the headline reads, "Club members worry for future after vandals wreck building." This article was by Emily Moore. Members of a Clydebank club have been left worried for the future after vandals broke in and left the building in a wreck. Alex Blair, a member of Golden Hill Bowling Club in Hardgate, received a phone call from police on Sunday, December 1st, that an alarm was going off inside the building. When he turned up, he found the building in ruin, with windows smashed in, glass all over the floor, broken furniture overturned, and graffiti on walls. He said, "We've been here since 1972, around 52 years. For 51 years we had a lovely club, with lots of members. It used to be an open club. It's a shame. 51 years we've been absolutely fine, with no problems whatsoever." Photos taken 2 weeks after the incident show extensive damage to the building. Drawers have been left open, boards have been scratched and covered with yellow paint, and the floor can be seen covered in shattered pieces of glass. Trophies were also damaged. Alex says the club is a lifeline for many bowlers who are now unable to use the building, which is always buzzing with chatter and tea, and now they worry for the future of the club. He added, "It's the only outing some of these members have. That's the only thing they get out to do. Even if we're not playing, they have a cup of tea, they would have a blether, and they're all getting together for that 2 or 3 hours. We used to have competitions, women's and men's, and if we didn't, we would just play bowls. But I just don't think any of this will happen anymore." Another member of the club who plays for the women's side said the ladies have been saddened by the incident. She said there was glass everywhere. "We don't know if we'll be starting the new season in March. The ladies are relying on it, as it's our way of meeting up and having a wee game of bowls, even though most of us are approaching 80 and some are over." Western Bartonshire Council have said the building has been secured and an alarm system is in place. A spokesperson said, "We were disappointed to hear about the mindless act of vandalism at Golden Hill Bowling Club. We have secured the premises, an active alarm system is in place, and consideration is being given to adding further security around the boundary fence." A Police Scotland spokesperson said, "Around 3:20 p.m. on Sunday, December 1st, 2024, we received a report of a vandalism at Kilbibby Road, Clydebank. Inquiries are ongoing." This article was by Emily Moore. This is from the Glasgow Times on the 18th of December 2024 from the news section, and the headline reads, "Manhunt after woman sexually assaulted on Glasgow train." This article is by Ben Waddle. An urgent manhunt is underway after a young woman was sexually assaulted on a Glasgow train. British Transport police officers said the incident happened between Glasgow Central Railway Station and Barhead train station in East Renfrewshire. The victim, a woman in her 20s, was travelling on board the train on November 25th at around 6 p.m. when she was sexually assaulted by a man. After that, the woman confronted the man and moved seats before getting off the train at Pollokshaws West. Now, rail cops have launched a search to track down the culprit. The sex attacker is described as being a white man between his late 20s and early 30s, with dark hair, a beard, and was wearing glasses. Police say he was wearing a purple jumper and carrying a black rucksack. A spokesperson for the BTP said, "Did you witness the incident, or do you have any information which could help the investigation? Anyone with information can contact British Transport Police by texting 61016 or calling 0800 405040 with the reference 581 of November 25th, 2024. Alternatively, you can contact Crime Stoppers anonymously by calling 0800 555 111. This article was by Ben Waddell. This is from the Glasgow Times on the 18th of December 2024 from the news section, and the headline reads, Taxi and private hire limit could be lifted in Glasgow. This article was by Stuart Patterson. A cap on taxis and private hire cars could be lifted to improve the availability of late night transport in Glasgow. A public consultation is expected early next year to review the current rules, which place a limit on both taxis and private hires. It could lead to the cap being scrapped, retained, or a new level set to reflect the needs of the public and businesses. Business leaders say the city is unique in imposing a private hire cap, and it is affecting travel options. Councillors on the licensing committee will be asked to approve carrying out the consultation in the new year. It will allow drivers, owners, businesses and the public to give their views on the number of taxis and private hire cars in the city. Studies have looked into the nighttime economy in Glasgow city centre and the experiences of customers. The reports, by Edinburgh-based research specialists, the Progressive Partnership, and Glasgow Caledonian University's Moffat Centre, highlight the post-COVID challenges faced by the late-night city centre economy, including decline in footfall, growth in socialising at home, impacts of people having less disposable income, and a perception of high prices. A lack of late-night transport options, including availability of taxi and private hire cars, as deterrents to coming into town, was also highlighted. Stuart Patrick, Chief Executive, Glasgow Chamber of Commerce, said, The city centre is the heartbeat of Glasgow's economy, but is still facing significant challenges in recovering from the pandemic, with footfall yet to return to pre-COVID levels. A vibrant nighttime economy is crucial to this recovery, and ensuring that people can travel to and from the city centre easily and safely is key to its success. Our research shows that the availability of taxis and private hire cars is a significant factor, particularly at peak times. Glasgow is the only city in the UK to operate a cap on private hire cars, and this is limiting the options for late night visitors to get home. This is not just an inconvenience, but is actively deterring people from coming into town, which is something we cannot afford if we want to see growth and vitality return to our city centre. Most recent figures for January 2023 show there were 1,416 licensed taxis and 3,176 private hire cars. In 2019, there were 1,420 taxis and 3,759 private hire cars. Alex Wilson, chair of the licensing committee, said, The primary purpose of licensing is to serve the needs and protect the well-being of the public. The availability of safe and licensed cabs at night is a key part of that. Both the city centre and the taxi and private hire trade have undergone significant change over recent years, and it's my view that it's time for a conversation on whether the over-provision caps for taxis and private hire cars are still required. We need to consider if they still serve the needs of the public, the trade, our city centre economy, and Glasgow's transport network. My hope is the responses to the consultation will tell us that. Angus Miller, convener for City Centre Recovery and co-chair of the City Centre Task Force, said, The Council and our partners commissioned these reports to build an evidence base of how we can support more people to access the city centre economy, and we know that building people's confidence in the availability of safe and secure late night transport is a factor which needs to be addressed. We have a responsibility to respond to the findings of both reports and help ensure a strong future for the city centre and our late night economy. And this consultation will help set the direction of provision for Glasgow. I'd urge as many people and businesses as possible to make their voices heard and take part in this conversation in the new year. This article is by Stuart Patterson. This is from the Glasgow Times on the 18th of December 2024 from the news section, and the headline reads, Woman arrested and charged after death of man in Wishaw flat. This article was by Ben Waddle. A woman has been arrested following the death of a man in a North Lanarkshire flat. The 47-year-old has been arrested and charged in connection with attempted murder and assault after the death of James McMaster. The 53-year-old's body was found within her property in Maxton Crescent in Wishaw on Thursday, December 5th. The woman is due to appear at Hamilton Sheriff Court on Wednesday, December 18th. A spokesperson for Police Scotland said, "A 47-year-old woman has been arrested and charged in connection with attempted murder and assault following the death of a man in Wishaw. James McMaster, aged 53, was found within a flat in Maxton Crescent in Wishaw on Thursday, December 5th, 2024. The woman is due to appear at Hamilton Sheriff Court on Wednesday, December 18th, 2024. This article was by Ben Waddle.
That concludes this week's edition of the Glasgow Times podcast. Please remember to subscribe to our channels at View and Review and to tell your friends about our service.